My boat has severely faded in the sun. The gelcoat has heavily oxidized under the Florida sun, and the boat's appearance has become very unattractive. I have to find a way to address this problem and restore the boat to good condition. Interestingly, the side facing the water suffers more, even though it's always in the shade, while the side constantly facing the sun, for some reason, fades less. I have polished the boat several times over the past 10 years, but I never liked the result at all. It involves a lot of hard, dirty work, but you get a good result for a couple of months only. And then, once again, the boat looks as if it's been abandoned. Today I want to try polishing the boat a little differently. I already own two orbital polishers like this, and I've tried using them in the past. However, I don't really like how they perform. Tools like this are great to use when your boat is already gleaming and sparkling, like new, and you just want to add a little extra shine. But when it's heavily oxidized, as mine is right now, you need to opt for something a bit more heavy duty. I tried using my angle grinder, but it didn't work out. Its speed is too high, yet at lower RPMs it lacks power and overheats significantly. Moreover, at high speeds, the gel coat starts to burn and tear in places, which are absolutely disastrous. That's why I bought a new low-speed polisher. I choose one with moderate power and weight, but not the weakest or lightest model available. Now I have sufficient power. The tool doesn't overheat during prolonged use, and the weight suits me perfectly, allowing me to work with it all day long. I also decided to switch out all my polishing pastes and waxes. The results they provided are simply too short-lived, and the work itself is extremely labor-intensive. I don't like wasting time polishing the sides of the boat with 3 types of polishing paste for several days and then waxing it for the 4th time, so that the results last for 2 months only. No, never again. I'd like to give this one-step compound a try. From what I've seen in the reviews, it seems to get more praise than criticism. I figure it should simplify and speed up the whole process. It's just so time-consuming and exhausting to have to polish the boat 3 times with different compounds, and then go over it a 4th time with wax for some protection and shine. Because the process is so long and arduous, it's really hard to find the motivation to tackle it, even though I really want the boat to look its best. I also bought this 6-inch backing plate on Amazon, because I have a lot of 6-inch polisher pads, but the backing plate on my new polisher is 7 inches. In addition, I'll need some wool polishing pads and microfiber cloth, which I bought on Ali. My wife won't let me use her cloth, even though she has plenty, so I have to buy my own separately. The polishing process itself is straightforward. Simply apply a small amount of compound to a wool pad, spread it out thoroughly to minimize splatter, and then carefully polish a small section at a speed approximately 2,500 RPM. Next, apply more compound to the pad and polish the adjacent section. If the paste begins to dry out quickly, I simply moisten the surface with water. If a spot hasn't polished well, I add a little paste and polish that area additionally. Fortunately, my boat sits on a lift, allowing me to raise and lower it, to adjust the sections I am polishing to my own height. So I don't need to use ladders or benches to reach different areas. Right now I don't want to do a full detailing of the boat. I'll limit myself to just polishing the hull sides. I'll tackle the deck and top later, next time. By the way, metal pots also polish up very well with this compound. It removes everything: rust traces, water spots, mold, and everything else. The letters have partly broken and partly peeled off. All in all, I'm gonna to remove them, so they don't get in the way. Later on I might stick on some new ones, or maybe I won't. The glue residue was difficult to remove. I had to spend some time messing around with it. Yes, it's get cold in Florida sometimes. Without snow, of course, but you still have to dress warmly. However, I intentionally choose this cold weather so that the boat hull wouldn't heat up in the sun and the compound wouldn't dry instantly on the hot surface. To prevent compound from drying out too quickly, some people add various oils to it. However, I prefer not to do this, as it later requires cleaning the excess oil of the gel coat before applying wax or ceramic. There is already plenty of work here, and I haven't desired to create any additional tasks. These polishing pads I bought on Amazon turned out to be incredibly convenient and useful. They do their job perfectly, and I can get anywhere to polish difficult spots. This paste works quite well. It removes oxidation right before my eyes, leaving behind nothing but clean gel coat. However, it's important to remember, it's not the wool pad doing the polishing, but rather the polishing compound itself. Therefore, you should always apply fresh paste to the pad and ensure that it doesn't dry out on the surface. And I press on, moving further and further, page by page, and the boat's appearance gradually transforms. It no longer looks abandoned. The compound goes a very long way, even though I am not skimping on it at all. And it looks like this single can, a quarter gallon or 1 liter, will be enough for the entire boat. That's great. It keeps the cost down, and the results are already looking good. While I am at it, I also polish the metal parts. Stainless steel polishes up nicely with this paste as well, removing all traces of rust and water spots. Whenever I get tired of polishing the same spot, I move on to another, then eventually return to where I started. It's not a big boat really, but it feels like I'll never finish it. Right now I've positioned the boat with its right side facing me, so I can polish the starboard side. Typically, however, it sits with its left side facing me, while the starboard side faces north, towards the water, and never sees the sun while resting on the lift. Yet this side always fades faster and more severely than the port side. Sunlight reflected off the water is far more damaging to the gelcoat than direct sunlight exposure through the day. The situation would be truly awful if one boat side were exposed to both the sun and the water simultaneously, as is the case with my neighbors across the canal. Of course, all this oxidation can be removed, and the boat restored to good condition. However, it would be nice to have a garage for the boat, or at least a large tarp, so that the entire vessel could be kept covered. But I have neither. This compound is very effective at removing oxidation, but it didn't quite restore the gel coat true shine in a single pass, as promised on the label. To achieve that, I plan to try coating the gel coat with a ceramic sealant instead of wax, which I usually used. To do this, I have to remove all traces of the compound as thoroughly as possible. I bought the ceramic sealant on Ali. The 20H variant, the strongest one available. They promise 10 years of UV protection. They are lying, of course, I know that. But if it lasts even just a year, that's still 5 times longer than wax. For the same price and the same amount of effort. So I'm gonna give the ceramic coating a try. Instructions on how to use it are all included. It's very simple. Just put a few drops on a sponge, apply evenly to the surface, then buff to the shine with a soft microfiber cloth, and that's it. The consumption of the ceramic coating is quite low. A 70mm bottle was enough for entire 37-foot boat, both sides, with even a little bit left over. I don't know how long the UV protection will last, but the resulting shine is stunning. A truly mirror-like gloss. Minor imperfections left over from polishing disappear beneath this shine. Wax simply doesn't produce such a mirror-like effect. It's truly satisfying to do this kind of work, especially when the result exceeds expectations. And the boat honestly looks brand new. What's more, it took less effort than I used to spend getting the boat exterior back in shape. I bought two different types of ceramics, but I only used one. Maybe I'll try using the second one somewhere up, on the deck and not the top. In total, I used two these bottles for the entire boat. One large quarter-gallon bottle of compound and one small 70mm bottle of ceramic coating. And here is the result, compared to what it was before. Of course, it's not entirely perfect. There are some minor flaws, but overall I like the result.